Hello, Santa Cruz. I'm Anthony Bento.
And I'm Annalise Clint.
It's the week of May 22nd, 2006.
And this is Banana Slug News.
You know what I really hate, Annalise?
Please, let's not start another broadcast with one of your rants on Calvin Coolidge.
Oh, God. Don't get me started on that fool again. The poor man's Warren G. Harding. A return to normalcy. What the hell was that all about? And the business of America's business? Clever, Calvin, clever. Too bad that pesky Great Depression came along, huh?
Just stop.
I'm sorry. Where was I? Oh, yeah. William Howard Taft. That fat...
The Q requirement, please.
Right. To the mathematically uninclined of UCSC, your world may get a bit more difficult in the very near future. For you see, the Q general education requirement, you know, the one that forces you to flex your mind to solve actual mathematical equations, may become harder to fill. On the bright side, trying to figure out how much you and your drunk friend should tip the transvestite at Saturn Cafe may become a bit easier. BSN's very own Perry Radford has more on the story.
Perry Radford reporting here at Science Hill. In recent years, concern has grown that our Q, or Quantitative General Education Requirement classes, no longer support the basic math skills our undergraduates will need when they join the workforce. I talked to Richard Huey from the Committee on Educational Policy about the current reimagining of the Q requirement.
About 60% of students graduating are in a major that requires some sort of math class. Then there's about 40% of the students don't have this and then wind up taking a non-major quantitative course.
The Committee on Educational Policy pressured individual departments to assess the amount of math work in their Q courses.
As a result of that, astronomy has created their own sort of internal definition of what it means to be a Q course in astronomy, and so some of their comments are that the final exam needs to have about 25% of the problems need to be quantitative.
We went around campus and asked students what they thought of these changes.
What's Q stand for?
That's a good question. Let's take a second to review the parameters for these requirements.
It says a 5-unit course that involves calculus, statistics, or advanced algebra.
Some students think that the knowledge of quantitative processes can be useful in the future and should be required for all students to learn.
I'm in favor of everybody learning higher math. I think everybody should learn calculus. But in general, I want to say that I'm in favor of people taking math.
The university agrees with this viewpoint.
You know, ways to help this, ways to make sure that anybody who's graduating from, UCSC has had some experience with manipulating numbers, manipulating quantities.
However, other students believe that they shouldn't have to take math classes that are not integral to their major.
If someone isn't into a major that has a lot of math involved in it, I don't know that it's important.
This reassessment of the Q requirement is certainly going to transform the way UCSC undergrads think about math. The changes departments are making in regards to the requirement seem to protect from a lack of maths that can very well keep our students from developing the skills they will need for their careers. Only time will tell if our students will receive the promised benefits of the revamped Q.
That was quite possibly the most amazingly informative story that I've ever had the pleasure to bear witness to in my 1 month at BSN. Thank you, Perry. How cool was that story, Annalise?
So cool. Speaking of cool, Frank, give me some water stats. I'm dying under these lights. What's that? We don't have any. It's like some cruel future bizarro world where there's not enough water to go around. Wait, just 1 second. Apparently, that dark waterless future may already be looming in the horizon. Talk to us, Alex Wills.
The 2005 LRDP, or Long Range Development Plan, was drafted to deal with the growing demands caused by an increasing student population at UCSC. It predicts that by 2020, there will be 21,000 students attending, as opposed to only around 14,000 in 2004. They plan to meet this demand by building 2 new colleges, 11 and 12, as well as building new academic facilities. These facilities will have access provided to them by a new road that will begin here and form a loop above the existing campus. However, the issue of water distribution has become a huge point of contention between UCSC and the city.
My name is Bill Coker, and I'm the director of the City of Santa Cruz Water Department.
My name is Matt Waxman, and I served as Student Union Assembly primary contact student representative on the 2005 to 2020 Long Range Development Planning Committee.
A good bit of the development on the northern end of the campus is outside city limits. And the problem with that is that the city currently has defined its service area limits as the city limits out in that particular location. And so anything that's outside that city limits, LAFCO, which is the Local Agency Formation Commission, has to weigh in on. And LAFCO will only consider that, historically, if the city says, yeah, we're willing to do that.
Our current county supervisor, Marty Wormhout, has proposed for the June 7th ballot this proposed measure that will allow the city residents to vote on whether or not, I think one of the things is that's in this measure is to whether or not the city will extend its water services to the University of California, Santa Cruz that goes beyond the city limits. So with this proposed measure, the city could say, well, we don't want to extend water. We don't want to give you the service, to give water outside the city limits.
When the university wanted to come here, they crafted an agreement with the city, and we both signed it. And that agreement said that the city needed to design a system, to develop a water conveyance system that was capable of delivering up to 2 million gallons a day for domestic use and fire flow. They're interpreting that agreement to say that we agreed we would be able to deliver 2 million gallons a day in all days, 365 days a year. My contention is that's not what it says. It says we will design a system capable of delivering that at a point in time. For instance, if there was a big fire at the university.
In that contract, the city agreed to provide water service for UC Santa Cruz, and that they would give that service, and that was the contract.
It says in the LRDP, in the EIR for that, it says that there isn't enough water, that the city is going to have to develop water supply in order to meet that demand. That is a significant impact all by itself. Our point was simply identify it as an impact and then say how you would mitigate it. And the way they could mitigate it would be to say, we will work with the city to pay our fair share of whatever supply development is needed to accommodate that growth. That would be mitigation. Nothing like that appeared in the EIR.
From what I've heard in general, there's a water shortage. So this is not something that having 6,000 more students at UCSC is going to be the cause for. It's not the cause for. It will increase a small portion of the impact of having a shortage of water overall. It's not like if we don't have 6,000 more students plus faculty, staff, we're going to be okay. That's not the case. This proposed measure was essentially say, we're not going to let you build up there because you're not going to be able to pipe water up there. So I think it's a little short-sighted to really just say, well, the UCSC has to stop growing and we're going to, sever it, because it's really not thinking about the complexity of the issues.